beautiful souls. I hope you're well. I'm Gaëlle, and today I wish to offer resources on how to do small-scale farming. I want to do this through a book review, and I will also present a YouTube channel that shares a lot about this subject. You're probably wondering, why am I talking about small-scale farming on a channel that also, talks about spirituality? As you know, on this channel, I wish to offer a way to ground our spirituality through a sustainable way of life for ourselves, but also for the whole planet. So it is important for me to link these two elements in life. So some videos are more focusing on spiritualities, and some videos will be more related to everyday things and to hands-on things that have a benevolent effect on our personal lives and the life of our planet and our world and our collective. So in the first place, I want to present a book review. This book is called The Mini Farming Handbook by Brett L. Markham, that you can see here. This book is an absolute jewel. I have the 2014 edition I found on my public library. And you're probably wondering why mini farming, why this term rather than gardening or anything like that. And you will probably realize, for those who are interested in this subject, may it be permaculture or food autonomy and things like that, that it's one thing to garden, for pleasure when you plant flowers, or maybe you have a couple of cucumbers and tomatoes in the beds of your garden. But it's another thing to actually be able to achieve some sort of food autonomy for either yourself or for a family. And not only that takes a lot of energy, but it's doable, but it takes a lot of space and organization, and there is a lot of steps that have to be taken into account. But with good organization, this can be done quite effectively. And this is what this amazing book permits, is to give you sort of step-by-step ways of doing so in a way that is, doable, and you don't feel overwhelmed, and it's really, really interesting. So just to give you a little bit of, I wanted to give you an example of what Brett Markham presents here, is that, for example, for a whole family to be able to sustainably live in food autonomy, each person would need, in terms of space, about 7 beds of 4 by 25 feet, So that's a large bed, to plant things. And you can imagine that for a family of 3 people, well, that would imply about 21 beds of 4 by 25 feet. So this is kind of why it's called, mini farming, because it's not the only reason, but I mean, it does imply a lot of growing, a lot of space needed. It's doable even in the city, in the front yard or backyard, but it's just to illustrate that it's not something, you're not going to be in food autonomy just by having one little bed of cucumbers, and it's a bit more complex than that. And it implies also how to deal with this food supply when it actually comes to grow and be very abundant. There's a way to preserve that food, because if you end up giving all your food because you have too much, then you're not really in food autonomy. So the purpose is to actually be able to preserve some of that food you get in great quantities at certain periods of the summer or the end of the summer. And by preserving it, then you can keep this food for a long period during the year until the next crop gives its harvest. So this is a nice way to be able to have fresh or preserved food, but that is natural, that is organic, that is healthy, and that is not, that you grew yourself all year long. So this is why it's called mini farming. I just wanted to talk about some of the elements that are talked about in this book. He talks about soil management and making your own fertilizer, about composting, crop rotation and cover cropping, seed starting, he very specifically shows, and with a lot of images, how to create raised beds and pest management, in always in a very organic and very natural way as possible. So he's really in that frame of mind, of course. Talks about trellising and planting spacers. For those who are eating meat and are interested in this part of having a tiny homestead or anything like that, which is not my case because I'm kind of a vegan in a way, but talks about raising chickens and, how to deal with, that aspect of what you have on your homestead, and also growing fruit, nut trees and vines, and obviously some food preservations. So there's a lot of elements he talks about. I want to share with you the table of content, which is quite, it's very extensive. I don't know if you can see from here, hopefully. If you don't, then it will give you the opportunity to have a look at this book, either at your library or order it. By the way, I'm doing this video. I'm not receiving anything from this author. I'm not doing official publicity. This is just something I wanted to share with you out of my own interest. I don't receive any commission or anything like that from either this author or from the YouTube channel I will be talking about in a minute. So this is just me sharing stuff with you. You see here how he illustrates how to create the raised beds. And as you see, it's very, very well illustrated. There's a lot of steps, visual steps, and it's illustrated in a very simple way. You don't feel overwhelmed by information that, if you're not a person who has done gardening in your life, or you're not very at ease with that, or you haven't learned much about that, don't be scared. I don't know much about gardening either, and I found this book extremely accessible, very simply explained, and with a lot of images and photos. So it really makes it incredibly easy to discover this world and to actually implement the things he suggests. This book is one of the many he wrote, which are Mini Farming, Maximizing Your Mini Farm, the Mini Farming Guide to Fermenting, and the Mini Farming Guide to Composting. So he's really, he knows a lot about what he's doing, and he has written many books on this subject. So this is something I really, really, really recommend. I will put the link and the reference to this book, The Mini Farming Handbook by Brett L. Markham, in the description of this video below, so you can have a look at that. So I wanted to first talk about this element, but some people might wonder, well, it seems a lot of work. Is it something that I would actually be able to do by myself? If I live by myself, or even if I'm in a family, is it something that's doable, to have like a mini farming? Is it too much work? Does it take too much time? Would I be able to do it if I have a job, or at least a part-time job or anything like that? Remember, that's one of the points of Brett Markham, is that food is getting very expensive. And by growing your own food and being sustainable and in food autonomy, you would reduce your bills, your food bills by growing your own things, especially in its natural and organic food, which is better for your health. That means also that will diminish your health bills, and not only your food bills. So that's something you have to consider in terms of you trying to live, do you actually wish to have a full-time job, or would you actually consider diminishing the number of hours you're doing of having perhaps a part-time job, and actually growing your food, which actually grounds you in the soil, gives you an experience in learning about many things, about nature, about food. It gives you organic and very good food for your health. So that's something to consider, So yes, it takes time, but it's an investment in your health and in your food bills and pharmacy bills. And so you probably wonder, well, is that doable? Is it something I could do even as a single person? And this where I wanted to address the another topic, and that is to present a YouTube channel that I found extremely rich and interesting, that I discovered about 4 years ago. And it's the YouTube channel of a lady named Ariel. She's an American and she lives in Wyoming. And she has created about 7 or 8 years ago a YouTube channel where she explained life on her tiny house on wheels that she had purchased and that she actually used and parked, if you want, on a piece of land that was not hers, but that was she actually was renting this piece of land, and where she could actually, I don't think she was actually renting it. I think she was just getting it for free, and then she would do some tasks there in exchange of being able to park her tiny house there. Anyway, and it was in the mountains of the Wyoming, and so it's an area that's can be quite cold with the long winter season. So you can imagine that the growing context there was not probably the most, amazing one to create mini farming, because, with the long winters and her being by herself in this on this piece of land, was that going to be possible for her to actually do some mini farming? And she actually did. She does recommend this book in one of her 6, I think she's about at 700 videos right now on an incredible, amazing variety of topics. She has done videos not only on sort of mini farming or gardening, on how to preserve the food she grows by herself. She cuts her own wood. She DIY most of the products she used because she's allergic to many of the products that are sold in stores. So she lives a very, very healthy life, very grounded, she's very knowledgeable about everything she talks about. She has researched upon. She's not just someone who talks about things like that. She always talks about things she has experienced. And so she's very knowledgeable. She reads a lot, and she puts all her readings through, and she implements that into reality. And now she had, about 2 years ago, I think she moved in a different spot with her husband. She newly got married, and they are now living in in her same tiny house on wheels that she moved, but on a piece of land that's devoid of all tree or anything like that. There's just the mountains in the background, and they're implementing right now, and for the last year, an actual homestead where she has planted trees. She's doing a mini farming garden. She has animals. She has like ducks and chickens and bees now. They have 2 dogs, 2 cats, and she keeps enriching her channel with amazing videos on homesteading, how to cultivate all these things, how to care for the animals in a very benevolent, loving, respectful way, how to preserve her food, how to do her DIY products. It's amazing. I really, really, really enjoy this channel, and a lot of the material she shares I've applied in my own life. And I've done some videos on this previously, but most of them are in French, but I will try to do more now in English as well, where I share some tips she actually shares on how to do your own apple cider vinegar, to do your own sauerkraut, incredible things that are really useful in life and make you save a lot of money, because she's on a budget the same way I am. And, it's really interesting to have ways in which to do things that are healthy, organic, but that doesn't cost you an arm. So Ariel is amazing for that. So Ariel's channel is called Nyth, FYNYTH. It means my nest in Welsh, if I remember well. I don't think she's Welsh, but probably she enjoys the Welsh language. I don't know. And so that's the name of her channel, Nyth. I think it's something like living in a tiny house, or Nyth and living in a tiny house. And she has about 700 videos on her channel, so it's rich, and it's divided by different playlists, so you can search by your interests. It's really a fascinating channel. So I wish to do a shout out for Ariel because I really like her. I communicate with her sometimes on different topics because she also does wildlife photography. So I often ask her some tips about the material she uses for photography or for her DIY things. So she's a lovely lady, younger lady. She's in her mid-30s, I think, or something like that. And she's wonderful, very accessible person, very kind, very benevolent. And I really, really invite you to encourage, her channel and go see what's there because it's really fascinating. So again, Ariel's channel link will be put in the description of this video below if you want to have a look at that. Again, I'm not sponsored by Ariel in any way. I just wish to share humbly that channel because I really love what she's doing and I find it very helpful for people who want to change the world, who want to make things differently, try to be in a more sustainable world, act in a more sustainable way throughout about your own health, about the way you interact with nature, with animals, with plants. And so again, like I've said, it's really important for me that we ground our spirituality in that way. By the way, Ariel has nothing, she's not sharing about spirituality at all. I just want to make that clear. This is my thing, but she is more in the related more to the implementation of a sustainable way of living. So that's it for today, guys. I invite you to raise your vibration and to stay grounded and rooted in spirituality, but also in everyday in everyday things of life, because it's important to ground your spirituality, not just be out there in the stars and transmissions and it's important to connect to your essence, but to stay grounded and rooted in our beautiful planet and all the things you can do to not only help it raise its vibration, but also raise the collective vibration through a more sustainable way of living and acting and more benevolent way of living. So this is all I wanted to share with you. Much love your way. Bye. Take care. All my gratitude for helping this channel bring positive vibes to more people.